Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Justin, and I expected the Toronto Maple Leafs to make a trade probably for the last 2 weeks. Every single day I've been waking up waiting for news on a trade. It still hasn't happened, and I thought it would happen during our couple stretches of only a few games in a few weeks, but now the schedule is ramping up a little bit, so not sure what to expect, but I have been hearing a lot of rumors on people that we might be going after and what it might mean towards the salary cap and the expansion draft that's happening after this year. And I just wanted to address it. Knowing the universe, I'm sure that a trade will come through for the Toronto Maple Leafs only in the next few hours after I make this video. But as of right now, no trades have been made, so I want to give my thoughts on a couple things that I've been hearing. The discussion that we've had so far around the Leafs' potential moves has been about how the Leafs are likely going after a rental player, a player that's on an expiring contract that will be heading into either restricted or unrestricted free agency after this year. Kyle Dubas has already said in his mid-season press conference that that's the kind of player that we're targeting. And I just don't get that. I know that there are many suitors out there this year that are going to become unrestricted free agents, and that is typically the kind of move that we would usually see about a contending team looking to add at the trade deadline, someone that's not going to count towards the cap moving forward beyond that, or maybe they can negotiate a new deal at a lower cost afterwards. But for this year in particular, I don't get why we're narrowing our mind. And I do understand that a big part of it, or the main part of it, is the expansion draft for the Seattle Kraken after this year, considering the fact that the Leafs can only protect X amount of players on their roster, whether those being, I think, 7 forwards, 3D and a goalie, or eight players and a goalie, however you want to frame it. And the question I have, and this focuses around one or a few players in particular, is why do we have such an attachment for some of our current roster players that we're so afraid of losing them to the expansion that we're only willing to consider deals for players on an expiring contract so that we can protect the players that we currently have on roster. Now, to put it blatantly, I think that Justin Holl and Alex Kerfoot are two players that if we didn't protect them, I wouldn't be devastated. In fact, it would just give us a little bit of cap relief. But the main one that I wanted to focus on in this video today was Justin Holl. I think that if we do make a trade that requires a current roster player going the other way, that Alex Kerfoot likely is that item going back in exchange for whoever we acquire. But for Justin Holl, I know that he has been a diamond in the rough. The main talking point about the whole Babcock era in Toronto is that he never gave players a chance that really had an opportunity, and Justin Holl was that main guy. He consistently put him in the press box, never played him, and look what he turned out to be. He's a very important player to this team. He's on a great deal for us. He's on a shutdown line with Jake Muzzin, and the question I have, though, is he really that important to this team? I think that he has a lot of flaws to his game. I think that the Muzzin-Holl line just hasn't done what they are supposed to do in being a pure shutdown defensive unit. I think Justin Holl takes a lot of risky chances in the opposition zone with a lot of risky pinches and gets himself caught a lot out of place. And while he is a great defender and is able to generate offense, I don't get why we're so keen on making sure that we can protect this guy. He is older than I think a lot of people would expect, and I know that he's on a really, really good cap hit right now, and I think only about $2 million per. But if we were to lose him and look at next year, well, we've got a few defensemen that are waiting to get their chance in this lineup, whether that's Sandin or Liljegren, and both of those would be on entry-level contracts. Those are way cheaper than Justin Holl's contract, and if Justin Holl stays and Zach Bogosian stays and all the players on the roster are able to find a way to stay or get re-signed and get protected, well then where do Sandin and Liljegren come into the picture in the future? I don't see a time that they would make most sense to join unless one or a few of those guys leave. And I think that the whole concept of trying to not acquire someone that has term at this deadline just because you need to be able to protect Justin Holl, which is what all the projections of who the Toronto Maple Leafs are looking at protecting this year, all of them project Justin Holl and Alex Kerfoot on that protected list. And I just don't see why that makes total sense. And I do think that we have a few prospects on the offensive end as well in the forward group that are able to jump in on a fourth line role in the Toronto Maple Leafs system next year. And right now we're seeing Alex Kerfoot play in between Spezza and Thornton in what is considered to be a third line A, third line B situation because we don't have a true fourth line. Well, we're paying Alex Kerfoot, I think, $3.5 million, and he's playing on a borderline fourth line role. And that doesn't make sense to me. I just think that there is the potential to go after a player that's going to help us in either the top 9 forwards or the top 4 defense today that can help us this playoffs and potentially in the future if we can get someone that's got a good deal on them for only 1 or 2 more years afterwards. Then I'm okay with exposing those players. Like I said, we've got players that are ready to come up next year on entry-level contracts that are going to be very effective for us in keeping our cap number down while also giving some of our younger players an opportunity to play in the NHL roster that they haven't had up to this point. You're looking at Nick Robertson, you're looking at a few other forwards like Philip Hollander, and then like I said, the Liljegren Sandin, they got to get their chance soon. So my opinion, I'd like to see a deal based on what is the best deal to help our team in the playoffs, the best deal to give us the best chance at a cup. I don't care if they are someone that's on an expiring deal. I think that they're putting way too much focus on that. I hope Kyle Dubas is listening and approaching every trade with an open mind and seeing how they might be able to make it work for the long-term future for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But that's what I'd like to see. Give me your thoughts. What do you like about what you've heard about the Leafs rumors in the last few weeks? Tell me some players that you think would be a great fit for this team. And what do you think about the idea of trading for someone with term versus someone that's on an expiring deal? As always, feel free to like the video. Please click subscribe, and hopefully we get a trade here soon because a lot of people have been waiting for it and it still hasn't happened. But until then, Toronto Maple Leafs, Edmonton Oilers tonight. Won it last time in overtime. Hopefully we can take another 2 points here tonight.